across is doesn't take all that long. Does look as if we are going to be ready to go back into this though, so
yeah.
Before we continue on, of course, we have another player representing Korea spawning in the red trunks down in the bottom left. Thus far, man, he is looking to be the strongest contender to perhaps be the one to take down Maru, but we don't know. It is going to be TY.
There was a lot of good things said in the video, which we, of course, watched yesterday, with Stefano, Scarlet, and Major having a little bit of a roundtable discussion about the tournament. They all had great things to say about TY, and kind of were saying, hey, he's just the best player in this tournament. So far, hasn't had as clean a win as Maru. He did drop a series to Kelazur, had a very close series with Showtime in the group stage as well. Nonetheless, he came out in first place, and will be going to this, of course, in a very strong position. Is going to be opening up with a gas first opening into a slightly delayed barracks, and then we'll be scouting across this map with this SCV.
So I guess the big thing to sort of look out for here would obviously be if Neeb decides to actually be a little cheeky here for the very first game, go for a quick Stargate place, proxy something, which is always, I would say that this one and perhaps Habitation Station would be two of the maps where it'd be a little bit more common. But obviously that's not what Neeb is going to be doing, going for the single gas into that expansion. For now, just going to be fairly straightforward. Second gas, everything just timing out it for Neeb. Very, very, very default. And with the Reaper on the way, second CC coming out here for TY as well. Not going to be going into those super crazy one-base kinds of games here.
You know, Neeb loves to play a little bit greedy, and he hasn't scouted across the map at all. He's only now sending this probe out to check for a very close proxied factory. So Neeb here, not wanting to invest in losing the mining time by sending a probe all the way across the map, just going to play this, you know, very economically, or even chrono boosting an Adept out super early. Before Mothership Core, might even be looking to delay the Mothership Core and drop a very fast Stargate. We can see Neeb here is going to be actually just queuing up that Mothership Core next, so nothing too crazy.
Cheeky engineering bay being dropped here in the natural. Reaper hasn't actually gone in yet.
Oh, this is a really cute move. So he wants to pull that Adept down because Neeb is thinking, hey, there's no Reaper yet. The Reaper would have come in if it was there. Purposefully plays the mind game, and now that Reaper will come in and find an exposed mineral line. Might be able to get a probe.
And this is so smart from TY. The Adept is going to come back on in, but not before a probe falls. The Reaper is actually going to get out of there as well. Of course, he regenerates. Such a nice little move there from TY. Of course, only losing a single probe. Whoa, Photon Overcharge does get deployed actually to take down this engineering bay, which TY can just cancel.
Does get the money back there, but you know, I can't argue with that. Just wants to clear up that mineral line. Neeb wants to get rid of those obstructions. It's a fast Mothership Core. Good defense by him. This was not free harassment. TY doesn't really get an advantage out of that.
Oh,
he
needs to be
trades
careful.
an SCV for a probe. The Reaper wants to scout the follow-up tech structure. Is going to come in, spots the robotics, spots the two gateways, knows that this is a very defensive opening, similar to what Showtime was using in those last couple of maps. Just kind of lots of observers, no fast blink, no fast oracles. TY is going to be very safe at home for the next minute or so.
Now, obviously, the one thing that ended up tearing down Showtime was just all these drops all over the place. Maru was tearing him apart because he was in 3 or 4 places at the same, at once. The issue would be, of course, if Neeb, setting himself up in a similar position, ends up getting dropped to death because TY tears him apart.
This Helion's doing a good amount of damage, a lot of mining time. Great control there by TY, bringing up the total workers killed to 5. So he's going to do very well with that opening. Neeb going for very fast double gases on the natural, wants to be getting that tech up. He's going to be going for Colossi behind this. So this is almost an exact copy of what Showtime was doing there as well. And this is a really cool, safe way to open where the Protoss sacrifices mobility and focuses on just having the strong frontal army for that defense. Meanwhile, TY going to be running a sneaky Widow Mine up to burrow on the third base to try and delay that a little bit. Behind this, interestingly, a Raven starting up Tenchi.
I mean, we've seen the Raven being very powerful with that auto turret, obviously, for some harassment. Single medvac is going to head in towards the main base, though. No observer in position. Only 6 Marines, so I mean, there's not all too much here, but might perhaps find probe. War Prism has started. There's just Photon Overcharge as well. I mean, he sticks around long enough. Sees this pop, but no. Neeb is going to force him out of there. Widowmine makes his way into the natural, finds 2 probes, and it is going to...
That's a run-by bombing right there.
So
that Widowmine just walked on in. Took a couple of probes, a nice little bit of pressure important for TY is that he keeps the
he sees the
medevac
prism.
alive.
This is actually a really big piece of information right now, because this really signals everything to TY that
wow.
Neeb is going to be moving across the map, but
Even gets a lot of hull damage there. Yeah, that's really good.
doesn't kill it. But I mean, this is a really good indicator for TY to what the next step in this game is going to be. And I mean, he's got a really good defensive setup. This Raven, a siege tank as well, as he's just adding in more of that infrastructure. Splitting off a couple of Marines as well in main base, just because, as you pointed out, he'd already torn down some of that HP on that Warp Prism.
Twilight Council is started up in the main base. Neeb can still not be going for a third base just yet. What information does Neeb really have right now? Not all that much, but he did scout a bit before, saw no third CC. He's going to run into these Marines. Good reaction by Neeb, does pull back before that Warp Prism goes down. And now this Warp Prism doesn't really get anything done, but it does force a reaction here from TY. We see missile turrets going up, Marines being in the base. The threat of that Prism is going to make TY have to play a little bit safer. And it's also going to make things difficult, though, for Neeb to verify. Right now, he's wondering, is there a third command center? Is TY going to expand, or do I just have to worry about a huge two-base push? It really is the two-base push he's got to worry about, because there's going to be a third tank popping out. Stim and +1 weapons will be finishing in the near future. A lot of bio is out. A single SCV going to come with this as well. This Warp Prism sees no third base, and this is a huge push. Neeb with just this tiny army posturing on the map, but he needs more units right now.
Yeah, bear in mind, Pig, as well. There's no blink, no resonating glaives. The one thing that he needs to rely on is obviously going to be these Colossi, but he doesn't even have extended thermal lance just yet. And TY, he's moving up. 2 sentries here, not too much meat here. The tank siege up as well. This is a really nice move from Neeb to just deny TY from getting a forward position onto top of that Nexus.
Just forcing these tanks to constantly siege. Those tanks need to be sieged up in case Neeb jumps on top of that army. Great observer snipe there by TY. Immediately splits off a single drop to the right-hand side. Oh, and that's going to force Neeb to pull back. He's warping in a few Stalkers in his natural. TY going to be careful with it. He's going to try and use this window to move up on the left, but the Colossus are there. These Marines do not have combat shields or stim. Already 3 of them are falling. That drop in the back of the third. TY getting very fancy with this. He needs to try and pull Neeb back. He wants to do damage with this push, but I think his timing might be gone. TY realizes this, and he just turns around, and he will be heading home. Oh, good defense by Neeb.
Yeah, really nicely played out. Those just delaying those siege tanks, man, was the key here. Because imagine they got on top of that third base in the choke, and then it's really, really tough for Neeb to do anything, because he didn't really have extended thermal loss. It was another like 10 seconds of that research, and no blink, no additional upgrades. TY, of course, without combat shield, as you pointed out, the Marines are so squishy. So I like that TY, of course, identifies that he needs to pull back home, because behind this he got his third base. He's getting more infrastructure up and running, adding in more SCVs, and just now the game is going to slow down, stabilize a little bit, and we already see the first disruptor on the field.
Look at this preempting from Neeb. He was moving these units up. He already sees the medevac. A full medevac goes down. Bam, 10 supply knocked out of the sky. Look at Neeb's map coverage right now. He's got 2 Adepts working down the right-hand side for a counterattack. He's got this Warp Prism actually being used as a spotter for drops on the right. Not that many observers out because of that Raven doing a good job hunting them down so far.
It doesn't even have he actually doesn't have a single observer Pig. This is insane. A couple of Adepts going to be moving into third base. Gets 2 SCVs, but of course they will end up falling. TY setting up around there with the tanks. Looks as if he's going to be moving out again to posture a little bit. Regain some of that map control.
Only 2 Vikings. Actually, no, those 2 Vikings get cancelled. TY not going to build any Vikings. There's 3 Colossi out right now, and he's just cancelled the 2 Vikings that are in production, gone back to Double Liberator production. His second starport is adding a reactor now. So TY doesn't have an effective response for this Colossi composition just yet. Neeb going to come in, try and scout what's going on. Does see that second reacted starport, knows it's not going to be ranged Liberators, but very likely will be a lot of Vikings and Liberators added into this army in the near future. And this disruptor count is continuing to climb. Neeb, he's still using these hallucinations, these Warp Prisms, these pylons around the map for scouting. And so far, Neeb is looking very untouched. His 4th Nexus is getting well underway. This big army's pushing out into the middle, but I don't think it's that scary. Resonating Glaives is just finished for Neeb. Oh, these Adepts almost commit to their death. 1-1's going to finish for Neeb right now as well. TY, this is a really ballsy push.
Oh man, big drop going up on Photon Overcharge. A lot of Blink Stalkers and tanks on the low ground.
Wow.
Laying waste to the Stalkers on the left-hand flank, and this position from TY is actually really powerful. However, he needs to be careful to not overstay his welcome on the left-hand side with this spotting pylon and another use of the Raven. Auto turrets in third base. Neeb is doing, TY starting to pull things apart a little bit here for the American Protoss, but I mean, he is holding on.
Yeah, he's He's holding on for now. That frontal push can't really shove its
Oh!
way in. A big disruptor shot goes down, forces the lift up here. But, oh, nice blink forward on the right. Snipes 1, 2, 3. All 4 medevacs will fall, but those tanks do a massive amount of damage. The Colossus fall, the Stalkers in the main fall, more Adepts being forced to warp in. I think Neeb needs to dislodge this position, but the double Liberated triple tank 2 Widowmine setup is just so powerful. Another auto turret comes in the back of the base there. Neeb is struggling to deal with this.
Oh man, he is going to commit into the Liberation zones. The Widowmines go off as well. Great target fire there with the Liberators onto those very expensive, hard to replace Disruptors. TY, even though he traded off a lot of his army, he got so much value out of setting up that position. And now another Strike Force are going to hit this fourth base, and he might actually be able to break it down.
There's no medevacs for this, so if he does stay here, yeah, he's going to commit. He needs that Nexus snipe because he's going to lose every single one of these units. He'd like to kill a few probes as well if he can. But we'll just get the Nexus and going to try and take a Stalker or 2 with him. Not a bad trade there for Neeb. I mean, the Nexus is a pain, but a lot of bio went down to kill that. So the fourth base is now going to be trying to expand for TY. TY loses a few SCVs on the back end as well. There's actually that Warp Prism down here. So Neeb doing a good job of putting a little bit of pressure back on his opponent. Both players 2-2 is very similarly timed.
Yeah, but Pig Neeb, he did lose a decent amount of those powerhouse support units that he needs for his composition. He's down to 2 Colossi, and he lost all of his Disruptors as well in that engagement. So I mean, he's forced to rebuild that count. He's only got 2 on the field with a third one underway. But he's starting to squeeze in some Archons at least, which are going to help out. These Vikings, of course, there to deal with the Colossi. As soon as they fall, they're virtually going to be useless. He'll have to land them. So he starts adding in 4 Liberators at a time.
Yeah, that army getting a lot of those powerful tech units with the 4th gold base mining now as well. TY might even get enough money to add a few more barracks. He's already got 8 barracks production up, I believe. What have we got? 6 barracks there. Okay, just 6 barracks for now, but that's a lot of Marauder production. 2-2's about to finish, +1 ship weapons is on the way. You are right, Lucas. There is a lot of bio, a lot of Liberators supporting it, but the Archon count's growing. There's a big Disruptor count. These 2 Colossi are so annoying because if these Vikings don't manage to take them down, these Colossi just produce such consistent long-ranged area effect damage. Combined with the Archons and Disruptors, it's a very powerful composition from Neeb. The Ravens continuing to be annoying in the backside. But a huge Doom Drop going into the main, Lucas. TY's going for broke. This is an almost all-in move right now, but what a beautiful setup he has. The Colossi already down to half-life. The Archons funneling up to their death. The Stalkers desperately try to blink forward. The Disruptor shots have to be big, but they get focused down. TY kills every single Disruptor before the shots can connect and takes inning. Oh man, he just destroys Neeb's army. Tears him apart. Neeb is down 50 supply. More Marine Marauder coming in on the left-hand side, and Neeb is just falling apart right now.
Every single Colossus fell in that engagement as well. The setup there from TY was absolutely insane. Even though he broke it down, the left-hand side being threatened. Now Neeb is down. Yeah, that's it. He was only on gateway units at that point, Jared. He had none of these expensive support units that he really needs to fight off that sort of army. With the Liberator, like even without Ghosts, those Archons weren't really a potent threat to TY's army, man. He was so efficient with all of those engagements. First, the setup with the tanks, sandwiched between the natural and the main base, focus firing down the Disruptors, focus firing down the Colossi, and again, when he went up into the main base now for this massive drop, he was always just on point with that focus fire, stopping all of those Purification nodes from getting any damage whatsoever.
You're absolutely right there, Lucas. I mean, that's the most important point in that game. That tank position down there. Like, there was that moment where I thought Neeb was just going to jump on top of it immediately and get dislodge it. And I was like, oh, cool. He's got this great Disruptor shot. It's like zoning back the bio. It's going to hit like some of the Widow Mines and tanks and everything else can jump in. And all 3 siege tanks just turned and just like one-shot the Disruptor. And he was like, oh, I don't know if I can take this. And he had to back off. And then it dragged out for like a minute and a half where those tanks were shelling down. The units were dropping in. The drops were hitting on the left. The Raven was being annoying. So TY, sick multi-prong.
It's just... it's really, really hard, right, when you allow Terran to get that sort of position. He did a really good job with sort of zoning him out around the third base, forcing the siege and unsiege and stuff. But when TY got himself lodged in between the 2 bases there, it was just... I think that Neeb's army was powerful enough to go for the like pounce onto TY, but that moment of hesitation, and then he's like, okay, 4 or 5 seconds later, he decides to commit. I think that gave TY enough just a mental preparation time. So like, okay, he assesses the situation in the army. He's like, this is what I need to kill in case he engages.
Of course, spawning down here in map number 2 of this best of 5 in the semifinals. We are going to find out who is going to go through to the finals in just a few more maps. And down here in the bottom right-hand side, our yellow Protoss player, he is Neeb.
And his opponent here in the bottom left on Newkirk Precinct, representing Korea here at WESG. $400,000 up for grabs here for this tournament. So much money on the line. The pressure is on. It is going to be TY.
Got to be feeling good after that map number 1. TY, a very different player to Maru. Maru, a non-stop mechanics god, a guy who just jumps on top of you over and over again. Sometimes gets a little bit too excited and throws his army away as well, though we haven't seen that yet this tournament since he hasn't dropped a map. But TY, a little bit more calculated in how he plays, a little bit calm, yet still very capable of hitting multiple areas at once. You could see, though, he was much more positioning based with his pushes, and that last move, you know, just the checkmate on the ramp with the Liberators there, just really great usage of that positioning.
We've actually seen that sort of drop already a couple of times, I believe, in this tournament. He did it versus he did it on this map actually versus Showtime. Maru went for a similar setup as well in his matchup. I think Kelazur tried it versus Jim on Newkirk. So
yeah,
the whole unloading bio, supporting that with Liberators, man, that's becoming a thing here. But it's so powerful.
Very powerful way. Of course, Protoss's weakness in this matchup is their immobility. This really is a matchup where, outside of any crazy builds, when we see the way that Neeb and Showtime have been playing here, we see the very typical style of Protoss versus Terran. The Protoss player is the defender. He's strong, he's muscular, but he's not fast. The Terran is the fast, agile guy. It's like the, what was that Game of Thrones fight? Basically,
the Mountain and the Viper.
Yeah, the Protoss is the Mountain, the Terran's the Viper. The ending is a little bit different to how it is in Game of Thrones so far and what we've seen in this tournament, but really, it is the Terran's job to catch him out of position and just kind of nip at his heels, and the moment Protoss isn't ready, you set up a disgusting position, or you kill 20 probes, and suddenly the Protoss is way behind. So the Terran's really got to bounce around and find those weak points.
Look at this again. Similar setup from TY. He's trying to do the same thing there, lure out the Adept, but this time Neeb, he actually sent the Adept down as natural and shaded up into the main to try to deal with this and be ready for it, but really nice here. Manages to zone out that Reaper.
Oh, he's coming back. He wants that probe.
Oh, that is disheartening.
He gets it. This is so cute from TY. Just the little details here. I love these baits, and the Reaper always kind of delaying a few seconds to make it look like he's actually opened CC first, or some sort of Marine opening or fast factory behind it. But in fact, it is always just the Reaper, and he's just making use of, you know, these little details to ensure he finds those bits of damage. He finally does go down, but he scouted this very fast Stargate. And of course, that's important because this is a super fast Oracle. He actually got the Stargate before the Mothership core. That's part of why there was such a window for the Reaper to do damage. But the Reaper still got the scouting off, got 2 probes on top of that. TY has to be very happy with this opening. And now he's just going to be preparing for that anti-air. Building a Viking already, as well as a few Marines. And just going to be trying to defend against this quick Oracle with those units.
I don't think that he's going to do anything really here. Following things up, though, a little interestingly enough, he's going to get a Phoenix. I do like this decision, having just a handful of them to defend versus drops. Very useful on this map, but we have seen a lot of Protoss players opting in for that Void range.
A lot of damage going down in that Oracle.
Yeah, he needs to get out of there, that Viking, man. That's the one piece here that really complicates the situation here for Neeb. So, but he, you know, like I was saying, to just finish that thought, is I really like the Phoenixes here. Pig, I don't know what you think about it, but I'm a huge fan of Phoenixes on a map like this where airspace is so key and where drops, obviously, like we've seen historically throughout this tournament, is like the one kill move that the Terrans have been bringing out.
I love the way they change up the pace of the battle for sure, Lucas. It makes it very dangerous for a Terran player to overcommit. We talked about how the Terran is the more agile player, but when Protoss add in Phoenix, a lot of Adepts in their army, the Protoss really does add a lot more speed than what Terran players are used to playing against. So if the Terran player ever extends just a little bit too deep, the Phoenix will shut down the medevacs. They won't be just picking up and boosting away out of there because you'll get shot down. So Neeb here going for these Phoenix is going to be very powerful. Of course, TY still has no idea that there are Phoenix out. So if he goes for a quick double drop, he's going to need to make sure he doesn't get caught by surprise. Of course, this Marine from TY spotted this fast third Nexus. The Adepts are now going to kill it. And we are going to see a robotics going down behind this. So once again, very delayed Twilight Council. Only now going down with the Forge for Neeb. This is something him and Showtime have been showing in common. It's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, this idea of, you know, you spend so much money normally to make those Stalkers, those Depths a little bit stronger, but maybe cutting it out, getting things like the Phoenix, the Observers up, and eventually the Colossi. Maybe that's just the more important thing for the frontal engagements.
Oh man, I'm a huge fan of Phoenix Colossus. I mean, we are in China after all, which is sort of the birthplace of that style. Would be a pretty damn cool throwback, but I mean, he's just, it is what he's going to be going for. He's up to 6 Phoenixes now, I believe, 5 or 6.
Yeah, we'll have to delay the Colossus for a while.
Yeah, Medivacs, but needs to be careful to not give up any of these Phoenixes just yet. But now with this reveal, TY now, he needs to be very cautious, like you pointed out there, when it comes to these drops. He overextends a little bit, gets caught out of position, perhaps between the Phoenixes and a Photon Overcharge, then all of a sudden you lose your Medivacs, you lose your map control, and that could trigger the Protoss just go and outright kill you or perhaps deny the third
TY
base.
with some clever movement here, trying to catch these Phoenix. He's going to jump forward, does get one Phoenix, and damages another one. Really great maneuver there from TY. Behind this, we are seeing Immortals on the way. Yeah, this is very common. Because the Protoss player invests a lot in these Phoenix and they don't really contribute to the front-on engagement that much, usually we see a Protoss player have to invest a lot more in that mid-tier army. Rather than rushing towards the Colossi, definitely he'll want to add those and probably Disruptors later. We're probably going to see multiple Immortals coming out here for Neeb. Lots of Adepts going for Resonating Glaives before Blink, saying, well, the Phoenix kind of do the same job as Blink Stalkers. Put that money into more Adepts, more Immortals instead. And this is going to be a very meaty mid-tier army.
Obviously, the Liberators, they're very tough to deal with. Sure, the Phoenixes can shut them down, but when you're under a ball of Marines supported by Widow Mines, it's really hard to get those Phoenixes in there. This is some nice harassment, though. He does pick up a couple of these SCVs building these depots, so he's going to try not supply block just yet, but he will be, and I think he can get on that. But Liberators now setting up, he's going to break down these rocks, even building a turret. I love this move from TY because this is going to further make it harder for Phoenixes to find any sort of counter damage versus the Liberators.
This is such a cute timing and adjustment against the Phoenix play. TY stopping at just 2 Medivacs and going right up into lots of Liberators. Does have to trade off a few Stalkers there, does need to kill. Maintains a worker lead of 8, which is a healthy lead, about even there on economy with TY, of course, because mules make up the difference. There are still 2 sentries and a few Immortals alive in this army. Neeb, though, rebuilding his Twilight Council right now. I think maybe he's forgotten what's going on. He's struggling with his army. These liberation zones just represent so much threat for him right now. He's adding in a lot of Stalkers. He wants to get back out on this map with this meaty force.
Oh, I love this. Leaving a single Widowmine behind, doing some good damage, bringing down a lot of the shields here on Neeb's army. But I mean, this army is tagged up, and he needs to get out, and another Widowmine in the third base. Good reaction from Neeb is going to... Oh, okay. 3 workers going down, not the end of the world. Could have minimized damage a little bit, obviously. But I don't know. Neeb can't really put into this amount of Liberators. I think maybe going for 4th space here, just adding in additional upgrades would be the better choice. But what do you think, Pig?
Neeb looks like he wants to commit to this. He's adding a few probes back at home. But so far, he has just walked in an insane number of Stalkers. He's got the Immortals in here. He's still got 2 sentries. He wants to do some damage here. That is clear. Does almost get this command center. Forces the stim in, but the Liberators have moved forward. Neeb forced back once again, taking a lot of damage on the edge of those Liberation zones. And this position is looking insurmountable now. That is 6 Liberators. A lot of bio underneath. The upgrades are even for both players. 1-1 versus 1-1. Neeb is sharking around. He wants to find some damage. It looks like he is going to be adding Blink once again at home. He doesn't have Blink just yet. Wants to go in here. He is going to shade 2 Adepts in the back of that third. Snipe down a couple of SCVs. Not really the best trade. Jumps in on the front at the same time. Grabs 1 Liberator. 2 Liberators do go down, but has to pull out. An Immortal goes down. The sentries have fallen. These trades are not going well for Neeb. TY is hanging on, and Neeb, he's losing too many units.
Oh man, without Blink, I don't know if I agree with that decision to jump in under those Liberators, and the bio closes the gap. The Immortals offer a lot of damage, but it's going to be enough. Most of the buffer here for these power units is gone, and that's just going to be it. Neeb taps out. TY pulling all the right moves. So sick with the fast repositioning, just perfect setup there. And Neeb, of course, engaging in under that. That's exactly what TY wanted.
Yeah.
Lost so many Stalkers. Lost all the sentries, no Guardian Shield, all of these support elements that he needs, just gone.
It's you know, TY with those crisp attacks is just so powerful. Stops at the 2 Medivacs, defends the Phoenix for a while, and then he just kind of says, look, your Phoenix aren't going to be powerful if I set up exactly what you said. Liberation zones, Ball of Marines underneath them, Widow Mines as well. Yep, even built a turret.
Love that flare.
And, you know, maybe Neeb could break that a little bit earlier, but it's so hard to judge, even as the spectator there. Obviously, Neeb's a lot more well-versed in these situations than we are, but wasn't quite able to break out there. Even though he did hang on, it seemed like he felt like he needed to counterattack and go almost all in there without Blink. Maybe he could have just added Storm, Disruptors, Colossi, something like this. I'm not 100% sure. The Liberator count for TY was definitely getting scary. So you can imagine if he just tries to macro up, maybe 8 or 10 Liberators arrive a minute later, and it's like, how do you defend it then? But yeah, TY has just been on.
Tech, like, yeah, this. If you want to push me out of this position, you are going to have to commit a lot. And I mean, that's what we've seen. Neeb has been taking a lot of punishment if he wants to force TY back home. But here we are now in game number 3 on Vani's Neeb.
And down here in the bottom side of Vani Research Station, our Red Terran player up 2-0, 1 game away from bagging himself an additional $80,000 and a spot in the grand finals to play for another $100,000. It is TY.
He's just his group performance was a little bit shaky, uncharacteristic, if you will, in my opinion. But for now, for day 2 and here today, the finals day, he's basically removed all of the issues that he wasn't too sure.
He's looking very strong so far. Games haven't been crazily one-sided. Well, at least game 1 wasn't. This last one, though, TY just looked astounding. Suddenly he's very exposed. So this is a map we often see Phoenix play on. We often see these Protoss players really trying to get out there and kind of protect themselves potentially through aggression, using DT drops, all sorts of things. But Neeb is 1 game away from elimination. It is so scary for him to potentially end up in that that sort of situation where, you know, you go for a DT drop, it doesn't do any damage, and suddenly you're way behind. So Neeb is just going to be opting for the fast Stargate.
For the action starts ramping up. When Protoss expands, you know, you're sort of pulling yourself very thin left to right, and then you have to go to the floor space as well. It's sort of like just a belt where each notch represents a location where the Terran can sort of go like, where do I want to drop you next? And you know, if you're up against a guy like Maru and TY, of course, also very capable, you have drops going on in 2-3 places at once, and that's really, really tough to deal with because you have to split your units perfectly.
A very fast Oracle. Guess what he's up against? A pretty damn fast Oracle. TY is so on point here, so safe. His main base, he's got a big clump of Marines, and this is a great way to open against Neeb especially.
Some great control here from Neeb, and the Marines a little bit more to the right-hand side, so he will be able to keep that alive. Very good starter. Grabbing 3 SCVs and then getting out of there. Perhaps even 4. Oh, he actually stopped there for a second. And then was out of energy. That's unfortunate. Could have found himself a 4th kill.
Losing all that health and shields is a real pain. You know, it started out so well, but now this Oracle has such limited use. It's just so much more fragile, losing 75 potential hit points.
Absolutely.
That's like basically this Oracle is never going to go past half hit points for the rest of this game, no matter how much its shields regenerate. So that's a big hit there for Neeb. A good success for TY, and Neeb's actually going to go for a very fast 3rd base behind this. TY spots it immediately though.
He's so on point. I love this. You know, like you were saying, comparing Maru and TY, I just feel that TY is a little bit more methodical and calculated in his plays. He's not. He doesn't play as fast, so there's not as much action being forced towards the other player at the same time. But it's just that there's so much. How do I put this? There's a lot of posturing going on in StarCraft 2. But TY, he comes with 1 blow, and that's just... he's like a heavyweight boxer with every single attack.
1 big punch. Yeah, he's been the master of those very carefully planned out attacks. Positional attacks.
Yeah,
hitting a very specific moment. Always where Neeb seems to just not quite have the answer to it. Neeb's going to be really on top of scouting. That Revelation is going to see a lot of units, but the Oracle goes down. Runs into those Marines on the map, and that is really big. Suddenly there's so much less threat. This main mineral line, TY doesn't have to worry about defending that from air units anymore. There's only a couple Phoenix on the map.
He saw the observer there, Pig, by the way. He turned the Marines around.
Oh, no. Of course, you can see that slight blur there, which TY can see. I think he's even spotted it, has he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because he pulled them back as the observer came overhead, but maybe he doesn't have a scan.
Well, it went on the high ground and then turned around, so of course TY couldn't chase it past there. But TY is moving out with a big attack nonetheless. A lot of Marine Marauder coming out. All we've got is Immortal, a couple Sentries, Adepts, and Stalkers here. Of course, the Immortal going to be a very good meaty unit to anchor down this composition. But I mean, Neeb has no idea which angle it's coming from. Yes, the unit's moved out over here, but are they going to jump in on which side? The Mothership Core can cover that back base, but what about the main? It's all looking awfully wide open right now. That first Colossus only now is about to pop. TY, though, playing it very carefully, doesn't want to overextend. He knows there's Phoenix out.
Oh, that is so loving it.
Of course, TY has been opting for a very late third command center. And because he sniped that Oracle, Neeb doesn't know this yet. He knows that there was a lot of production, but he doesn't seem to be appreciating just how much. Right now, Neeb only has 5 gateways, and he's actually, or 6 gateways, and he's actually going up to double forge. He cannot waste money on upgrades right now. He needs more units. This is going to be a 2 Liberator attack. Masses of Marine Marauder medevac, a couple of Widow Mines in the mix as well. TY even going to send a Marine ahead.
Plays those Adepts, but this Colossus is doing a decent job in forcing the Aspio away towards the left-hand side. It is quite low because he doesn't have too many medevacs, and another Liberator heading towards the natural expansion, going to set up, but then the Bio on the southern side, right on top of those Colossi, and the power units from Neeb have been absolutely annihilated. And now, how do you deal with all this biopic?
That is such a great move there from TY, getting rid of the Colossi. There goes that big range advantage that Neeb was zoning out the Bio with. Now that that's gone, the Bio can just roll on forward, deny mining, start to blast away on that Nexus, and one more Colossus does come down. This one will be helping Neeb zone out the Bio for now, but more and more units up on top. Gets rid of the front, but is he ready for the next wave in the back?
2 medevacs in the main base. And the army of Neeb is completely caught out of position. They're still in the 3rd base. They're not even making their way up into the ramp. At the same time, these Stalkers pulled from the natural expansion. That is going to be hit by another drop here pick with Widow Mines and lots of Bio as well. Picking up in the main base, leaving some out. Neeb just taps out. No way, gets completely torn apart. TY, an absolute beast. These Korean Terrans, it's sickening to watch, Jared.
It's gross. It is.
It's just
gross, man. They are destroying. They're on a tear. TY and Maru have both just been crushing it. TY bags himself another $80,000 with a 3-0. Goes through to the grand finals against Maru, where we will have an epic TVT. And that's just incredible. Honestly, their players just been out of this world. They've been playing the maps correctly. They've been just really abusing the Protoss players and the scouting oracles. I feel like the Terran players were really grabbing those information edges. They were scouting harder and denying scouting harder.
Yeah, I also think one big flaw, just overarchingly for many of the Protoss players, perhaps not only in WESG, it is the fact that once you've sort of set in stone, like, okay, this is how I want to be playing. I want to play my PvT very defensively.
Yeah.
If you're up against a very strong, mechanically powerful and adaptive player like Maru, like TY Innovation, these guys, once they figure you out, not only, like you say, they always manage to find these pieces of information, get the Reaper in at a super odd timing, so they see all of your tech or see the 3rd base going down, but they figure you out, and then they're like, okay, like we saw in, like, I just want to highlight this again, we saw on Daybreak with Maru, who sort of, he swapped around with the 3 medevacs boosted into the main base there of Showtime.
Yeah.
Like those sort of moves, that's not something you see on the from the common Terran. This is something that is like specifically calculated from, yeah, well, this is the setup that you're always playing. They go in, they confirm the information, like, yeah, okay, this is sort of what you've always been doing, and then they abuse the hell out of that weakness.
Exactly. You know, these are the best players in the world.
Yeah,
TY, Maru
absolutely.
are incredible, and they really are pushing the limits of what you can do when there's no pressure back on them. So they've got all the information. They're scouting hard for it. They're denying the information. They're doing these little movements to shut down those Phoenix and Oracles. Throughout that series, we saw multiple Phoenix and Oracles go down because of the really great unit movements from those players. And suddenly, I mean, I feel terrible. Yesterday at the end of the stream, I was saying, guys, tomorrow it's going to be all 3 2s. Every single one's going to be a close match.
The same.
It's like there was a lot of 3-0s yesterday. It's like it can't happen 2 days in a row. But honestly, I think we're going to have an amazing finals, an amazing 3rd place match. Of course, next up on the stream will be the 3rd place match. It will be between Showtime and Neeb now, a big PvP. And following that, we will be heading onto the main stage for the TVT. So, but as you can see there, that's the tournament bracket so far on screen.
Yeah, so whoever falls out in the finals is still going to be taking in $100,000, which is an insane amount of money. Third place match worth 50,000, and then of course 200 grand for that first place prize.
Poor fourth place, only 20k for them. So that third place match is really going to be a grisly battle of PvP.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's the money here, man, has been absolutely out of this world. There's so much cash on the line, but this TVT, like you said, Maru TY, that could be a GSL finals.
Absolutely. So guys, do stick with us. We will be right back in just a few minutes with that third.